Hello, everyone. This is the Easy Allies podcast. I'm Kyle Bossman, the Dark Prince of Nerd Media. Joining us this week, Michael Damiani.
Yo.
Ben Moore.
Hey.
Ian Hink.
Hi.
And Brandon Jones.
Hi.
Hey, everybody.
Hi. Hi.
How are your homes?
Good.
My cats are running around right now, so you might
really
hear
bright.
some pitter patter.
I think I wish that I had some cats.
What
I think that
about
would
a
help.
dog?
And a dog. A cat and a dog would help so much right now.
Yeah.
I can't.
Let's do corrections from last week. Begin corrections music, please. Modern Warfare Remastered wasn't a pre-order bonus. It was tied to Infinite Warfare's Legacy Edition, which cost $80.
Oh yeah.
I forgot that. So you had to buy the big fat deluxe version to get that one game.
That's right.
And then it eventually did come out by itself, but initially that is how you got that game.
Was there a backlash because of that, or did they say that up front? Like, this will come out someday, but if you want it now, buy the deluxe.
There was a backlash. Yeah, totally. It was not received too well, announcement-wise. We've been doing the scores wrong, Jonesy. So our actual totals we'll talk about at the end of the podcast, but our betting totals are now straightened out. We got them clear. Everything's straight.
I like the we. Just I'm culpable somehow.
Keep track, Jones.
I mean, you do the graphics. So if you
Off of what you say.
if you pull in a graphic, right?
Right.
If you pull in a graphic that says 6 and 2,
Yes.
and you increase both numbers,
Right.
something's got to be wrong.
Right.
36
but if you
and
say,
2?
But if you say one word and you see a different one, who looks dumber? You or me?
How can
I'm
you?
the one that looks like an idiot. I'm the one that looks like, Jones didn't update the graphic. What the hell's Jones's problem? It's like, I'm doing what this guy says.
No, everybody knows I'm trying my hardest. I saw a lot of comments that were disappointed that we didn't cover the Nier stuff, so we'll do it in this week's podcast. End corrections music, please.
Kyle, I need to self-correct.
Okay.
I made an incorrect reference. It's 46 and 2. As soon as I said 36, I was like, that's not right.
What's the reference?
It's a Tool song.
Yeah, that's a Tool song.
Okay. Well, it's time to play best last line.
Not needed,
Nice, Ben.
but all right.
Nice, Ben.
Tell me you don't get the shivers when you hear Tool.
I like Tool.
That's what they're going for. That's the correct response. Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to give you the shivers. Best Last Line is the game in which we try to determine which are the best last lines from video games. Patrons send in a bunch of last lines, and our panel determines which is the most memorable. The most memorable last lines go into a pool, of which I will select one to be my actual last line on this very podcast.
Hey, wait a minute.
2 weeks from now.
Your last line will be on the one that's just you and Jonesy. We won't even get to hear it.
I know.
You could listen to the podcast.
It's impossible. I don't know where to find it. It's impossible.
Timestamp.
It's on iTunes.
What's that?
Okay, so let's start with this one from Ahab. When stars die, they turn to stardust, and scatter across the cosmos. Eventually, that stardust reforms to create a new star, and so the cycle of life continues. But the cycle never repeats itself in quite the same way. So, you'll see. Yes, all new life carries the essence of stars, even all of you. Ah, welcome, new galaxy. You know the game?
Super Mario Galaxy.
That is the last line of Super Mario Galaxy.
Wow. That gets metaphor.
That's one of the only first line or last lines anyone on the podcast knew.
The amount
Yeah.
of use of the word stars, Kyle.
Yeah.
I was gonna guess Galaxy even before you said the Galaxy part at the end, because like this is a Nintendo thing. They're saying that word way too many times. This is a Nintendo line.
And what's funny is it almost makes all of Mario canon. They're just other galaxies.
yeah, that's the multiverse confirmation.
Whoa.
Have you never seen like the Mario like wiki timeline stuff?
Yeah, I don't like to delve into that.
Galaxy was a landmark
Forbidden
event
knowledge.
for the
It created
Mario
the anchor?
timeline. Yes.
Great.
Things got serious after that game came out.
They're all pretty long this week, but they're pretty good. All right, there is no path. Beyond the scope of light, beyond the reach of dark, what could possibly await us? And yet, we seek it insatiably, such is our fate. Do we know that game?
I'm guessing a Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, I
game.
was gonna guess Kingdom Hearts as well.
Dark
We gotta
Souls
get-
2.
Whoa.
That
That's
is
the-
part of the
shit.
Kingdom Hearts.
Abandon
timeline.
the Throne ending. That was from Y2 Kyle 89.
That is part of the Kingdom Hearts timeline, yeah.
No, I mean this quote just says like there's no point in trying to do anything in life. Like I think it's contrary to Kingdom Hearts.
I mean, it sounds a little like Riku, but
I think you
dark.
just saying light and dark. I immediately jumped to Kingdom Hearts. Yeah.
Fair. All right. This one surprised me. From Blubber Metal. Your world can end in the blink of an eye. One event, one unexpected twist of fate, and suddenly the world as you know it is gone forever. All that you held dear, all that you held close is washed away into the sea of distant memory. Life is cruel. Of this I have no doubt. But life continues on, with or without you. One can only hope that one leaves behind a lasting legacy. But so often, the legacies that we leave behind are not the ones that we intended.
This sounds so
That's
familiar.
nice.
I almost
does
want to guess like it sounded almost Kojima-esque.
Yeah,
for a
that
second,
did
but
that
does
did
sound
sound
a little
very
Kojima-esque.
Kojima-esque. Yeah.
That's why I love this quote. This is from Gears of War 2.
Oh, that
Yeah.
not at all what I was thinking. Okay.
Exactly, that was from Queen Mira. And actually, I'm fine with just that last line. One can only hope that one leaves behind a lasting legacy, but so often the legacies that we leave behind are not the ones we intended. So true. Okay, let's do one more.
Got some serious ones this week, Kyle.
Yeah.
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 You've been
I
holding
think
on to
This
these.
is heavy stuff.
Are, these,
'Cause
are
this
all
is
these
stuff
lines
is-
going to get more dramatic the closer we get to your leaving?
the goofy ones have been winning, and I think some people will go too hard on the goofy.
Yeah.
And it's like we reel it back
Fair.
this week.
Kyle's trying to cry in his
Yeah.
last episode.
The human race will probably come to an end sometime, and new species may rule over this planet. Earth may not be forever, but we still have the responsibility to leave what traces of life we can. Building the future and keeping the past alive are one and the same thing.
That's very Metal Gear.
That's like Metal Gear Solid 1 or 2, right?
2, baby.
Yeah, it's 2.
Wow.
That's from Thorkel the Tale. It's Thorkel the Tall, excuse me.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, he's talking
That's
about memes.
Snake tucking the right in, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's talking about memes.
Yeah, the memes.
Yeah.
They're important to preserve and pass them down.
Yeah.
That's all that matters, really.
Didn't Kojima invent memes?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
He was part of the council that, yeah.
The meme Illuminati. Okay, so which of those four quotes was the most memorable?
The Dark Souls one was pretty great.
It's all pretty good.
The Galaxy one is funny
The-
being from Galaxy, but as a quote
It's
itself,
the least memorable. The Galaxy one to
Yeah.
me is the least
very
memorable of
long.
all of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a little wordy.
Can you do the Dark Souls 2 one again?
Sure.
Yeah, I need to hear the Dark Souls one again.
Yeah, there is no path. Beyond the scope of light, beyond the reach of dark, what could possibly await us? And yet, we seek it, insatiably, such is our fate.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
like that one.
I want you to say that as the last thing you ever say on Easy Allies.
Okay. Yeah, I
That's
kind of like that one.
That's very nice.
Yeah. And
Although,
pretty
wait.
relevant, right? What?
Are you you're just picking the last
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be that Mega Man one or whatever. The winner's
know.
already decided.
And there's next week, too. Next week could have some real winners, too.
It's very optimistic, Kyle. I appreciate that.
If you are wondering why we're this far into the
If you-
podcast without talking about video games, it is because I'm leading this week with the reveal of a controller. It's our leading headline. The PlayStation 5 controller was revealed this week via a PlayStation blog post. And what I would like the panel to do is, you know that we have listeners, right? You know we have people who are driving a truck and listening to this podcast. Please explain what the controller looks like to them.
Okay, picture an Xbox controller,
Okay.
but it's white, and it's wearing very thin overalls.
Yeah, it's got a camisole on, a spaghetti strap camisole on,
Okay.
and that's it.
It looks like something out of Mass Effect.
Yes, it looks like Mass Effect.
And traditionally, like all PlayStation controllers, all official DualShocks, it's symmetrical, right? So the analog sticks are not offset
Yes.
like an Xbox controller. It is like a PlayStation controller in that sense.
it's kind of like if the Xbox controller, a DualShock 4, and the Switch Pro controller like fell into a thing of whiteout, and then this
Halfway.
like rolled out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because really, the two tones of the controller, I think, are what make it distinct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much white for it is just for a PlayStation branded controller, like leading off with that. This is very. We haven't seen that since like the gray tone with like the PS1.
Everything
yeah.
north of the analog sticks is white, but also the handles are white as well.
You almost expect it would have been inverted actually. Like the black would have been the dominant color and the white would have been,
I've seen mock-ups, and
Oh, yeah,
it almost looks better.
It does look better. This thing's gonna get
It lends
dirty
itself to a lot of
immediately.
potential, Kyle, but of describing it, just like why it seems a little atypical, just like of their usual style.
Well, this is Damiani. This is what I think is great is that we talked about the reveal of the Xbox Series X controller, and it was 2 sentences, and we moved on.
Yeah.
This thing gets headlines. This thing gets likes and clicks. People have feelings about this controller, whether we believe it's ugly or not.
Wasn't it the second most liked or talked about Instagram gaming post ever?
You think I keep track of that, Damiani?
Kyle,
Yes?
you're the cool person. I thought you were on top of this.
Just Google it. Just Google it, dude.
Dark Prince Nerd Media, you should be on top of this.
You're right. As nerd,
I'm surprised.
Instagram is part of Nerd Media. You're right. I messed up.
Absolutely.
Especially being the Dark Prince of nerd
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
But you're right, Kyle. To your point, this is getting a lot of people talking. Like, it's been talked about. It's still being talked about. The fact that even, like, people were, like, got worked up to make mock-ups to show Sony, I can do better. I almost wondered they, like, planned it. Like, let's just put something
Yeah.
out there. Like, the form factor is the most important part, but the color tone, let's put that out there and see how people react, because you know what? They're just going to tell us what they want, and there's still plenty of time to give them that color if we really want to change it. And it's been a good week for them. There's people showing mock-ups, people talking about it, and as you said, the Xbox Series X controller came and went. Like, I don't even remember it, other than the D-pad, maybe. That's, like, it. And, like, the triggers had some new texture or something, but...
Those are the two things I also remembered about
Yeah,
that controller.
it's like, but no, it's
got a little share button in the middle
image
now,
of
too.
DualSense is just, like, burned into my memory right now, and I just can't stop thinking about it.
So it is a name change. So I think it's worth talking about it, the lineage in a couple of ways. The DualShock was a PlayStation 1 controller. That's when they added the 2 analog sticks. And then the PlayStation 2 had the DualShock 2. The PlayStation 3 had the 6
Six-axis.
Six axis.
Yeah.
And then they had the DualShock 3. And then the PlayStation 4 had the DualShock 4. 1, 2, and 3, basically visually identical. The PlayStation 4, I think, at least had some things different. And then this is a huge departure and does not even carry on the DualShock name. It is called DualSense.
DualSense.
Yeah.
I think I'm most curious about the weight.
Yeah.
Because I think just visually the way that it's structured, it looks heavier than, say, a DualShock 4, but I won't know exactly until I get my hands on
it's
it.
chunky.
Yeah.
It's got,
Still
if you
chunky.
look at it side on compared to the current one, like the current one has the, like, it's like a wasp body. It like comes in and then gets big again, kind of. This one's just like big old, more like the Pro controller for the Switch, kind of, I think.
So it is chunky because of its namesake, because of the haptics, because they had to stuff actuators in there. And what I really want to talk to the panel about right now is, do you believe in haptics?
Yes.
Do you believe in haptics? Why? What do you believe it's going to be like?
I think that if they do it well, which I don't think they will, I believe in the capability
Got it.
of
You mean
haptics.
generally? Yes.
Gotcha.
In the
No,
future.
no, I mean, I believe that it will be capable of it, but I think like Naughty Dog and a couple other people will do it really, really well. Like Santa Monica Studio is going to do it really well. Most other people are going to like half-ass it, especially multi-platform games. Like Call of Duty they're going to be like, the guns feel different, and then they like kind of do. But I think if they're done really, really well, like pulling the trigger on a shotgun will be a little harder than pulling the trigger on a 9mm or something, like stuff like that can be really neat. And like when you're out of ammo, it can feel different.
Yeah.
And all kinds of stuff like that. It could be really neat, and it could be another way of having immersive feedback if it's done strategically that enhances the gameplay and isn't just like a gimmick. Like, think like when vibrate is like a subtle heartbeat when you're feeling hurt instead of just like constant like like that kind of difference, where it's like if it's used in creative ways, it does enhance the game.
I feel like my recent time with Half-Life Alyx is really coloring my opinion on this, and why in the review I say you really can't fully understand this until you experience that. And it's part of what adds so much to the intensity of firefights is when you're firing like a pistol in Half-Life Alyx, the way that it vibrates in your hand. And it really, it doesn't sound like a lot when you're saying it, but in the heat of the moment, it adds so much believability to the act of firing a gun that, yeah, when done well, I think it can be very, very, very cool.
Yeah, I love I think this will work well as you described, because like sound design already does a good job with that. Like guns, like the clips being emptied and stuff and sounding more hollow. Like this is just another way to help players more easily understand and get like information, like feedback from the game, where they don't have to rely on maybe traditional stuff. Even the simplest thing of like a button input confirmation. Like things where like, did I hit that or not? But like you just have the little haptic feedback there. Like so you can like use my iPhone and stuff when I know I hit like the home button. Like, oh, I felt the vibration there. Stuff like that. Like it's just those small quality of life things I think matter a lot. And
Also,
players
like,
appreciate it a lot. Yeah.
Think about like the next Quantic Dream game or something, right? Like you're struggling with a maniac who's in your apartment, or you're trying to crawl up a muddy hill or whatever. And like the easy part, you're mashing L2 and R2 and it's easy. Then the hill gets steeper and the buttons become harder to press, that kind of stuff could be rad. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's basically what motivated the reveal, at least in the post, is that this controller is now finally in the hands of developers. And so I think Sony basically kind of got out ahead of them, so it couldn't be leaked. It couldn't be like, hey, look what we found. It's just like they get to just be out in front of it and show their own images. I would like to know from the panel, who considers this controller good looking and who considers it bad looking?
What if we just think I feel like I'm indifferent towards it. Like I don't have super strong positive or negative feelings.
I'm more surprised by that than anything, Ben. Because I think it's a polarizing look. And you feel nothing about it.
I don't love it or hate it. And I feel like once I get my hands on it, I think I could feel more strongly. But I am surprised at how sort of indifferent I am toward it. Certainly some of the mock-ups that I've seen from people I've liked better than what I've actually seen from the official DualSense. But yeah, I don't think I can put myself in either camp at the moment.
I'll say this, like I appreciate that they're trying something new, and like the main thing that matters is what this thing feels like, and if it feels good, I don't care what it looks like. It could look like a bag of Pepto-Bismol, I don't care. But like
you just put your hands in the bag.
Yeah, and you just kind of squish it around like an existence. It's like some nasty little thing. No, but like the one thing I'll say, so I'm like neutral plus, I guess. Like I'm on the positive side. I don't hate it, but I'm like 60 on the give a damn meter out of 100,
Sure.
But like I will say that if I have an option at launch of white controller or not white controller, I will never buy a white controller ever. If I'm given the choice, because it's just like gonna get dirty and like whatever, and I don't find white electronics that attractive, especially the console. Like I hope the console is not mostly white, because it's gonna look so.
It seems like the not white anything is always like the better one. It's like the Wiimotes first came out white, the Wii came out white, and there's like the other colors of Wii. Like it's like it's just. I don't know.
Do they do it on purpose to encourage further sales?
That's like my feeling on this is I don't know if this was something that they were necessarily married to really from a stylistic perspective, and I wonder if they were just like we just want people to talk about this. We want this to shake things up.
Yeah.
We want people just to boldly think like, wow, that's a choice. Like they're really going somewhere with this. And like just the wideness of it isn't necessarily going to do that. Like if you release the black version of that and it just looks like a chunkier PS, DualShock, And so then people start to wonder, like, what did they do to this controller that I love? It looks just so weird, and why did they make it wider and just looks like heavier? And then you start making comparisons to the Duke from the original Xbox, where it's like the wideness of it was not the first thing everybody started talking about. It was that color.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
I think you're right. I think, like, whether or not it's like whether or not this is the only one you can buy at launch, the choice of making it white definitely, yeah. It's the blue cow. It distracts from the other things you think people might nitpick.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny talking about the white stuff because, like, I think about my GameCube controllers, and the white GameCube controller I got from Japan or something, I forget how I got it, is my favorite GameCube controller. But, like, when I think about any of the other controllers I have, like, especially, like, think about the Wii, that was, like, the default color it had, and it was just, like, easier for mass production for whatever reason. I think these companies go with the easiest, like, color that they can get out there because they know the more specialized you get, it's, like, that's what you release down the road. Like, you don't do that at launch. But to answer your question, Kyle, I think I'm very positive about this. My first reaction wasn't hate. It was actually, I like this. It's so different. I even like that they went with a different, like, not going with just all black. I like this. They're trying to do something to differentiate themselves. I mean,
The two-tone is cool. Yeah.
I like that. I will say, though, there are other mock-ups I saw that I like better in terms of colors, but strictly speaking from form factor, from what I've seen from they put out there, I really like it, and I dig it. But I'm also with Ben and Ian in that my opinion could change once I have it in my hands, and I know how it
that's the
actually
most important
feels.
thing.
Yeah, but, like,
yeah.
just going on the information we have, I'm actually very positive about this, and I'm more excited about it, yeah.
You know what scares me about this controller? This little bastard's going to cost $90.
Yeah.
Nice.
It is just going to cost more than a DualShock 4, certainly.
Yeah. Like, if Joy-Cons are $80 for a pair, this thing is
It's going to be
$80
a
at
hundo.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100, 130, 160. Well, what's the Xbox?
Well, I mean, aren't the
Elite's
Elites like 150,
200.
160, so
Yeah.
I don't-
So, yeah, it could be above 100. Damn.
I don't think it's going to be above 100. I think it's going to be like 60, 70 bucks.
A couple of weeks ago, the LA Rams revealed their new logo, and it's also very ugly, just atrocious. Like, just they did a clearly bad job. And so to me, this is like a different kind of ugly, right? It's like it's an inspirational ugly. It's like it's a creative ugly, as opposed to just you did it wrong ugly, like the LA Rams logo.
I love
But I think that you made a good point too when you said they had to fit a bunch of haptics in there. Like, I think this it's a visual design that's a solution to, like, crap, we can't fit all the stuff in there anymore. You know, so it's like it had to get chunky because it had to fit stuff in it. And I think that's I'd rather have design decisions coming from, like, interesting innovation causing things other than just like, hey, we got to shake it up because whatever.
We need Instagram likes.
Right, because we need it to look different. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you don't. Like, if it ain't broke, you know.
So another interesting part of this whole thing to me, and maybe this isn't interesting, but they're tripling down. The PlayStation 5 is still coming out in 2020, and week by week, I continue to disbelieve this. Jones, do you think this is happening in 2020? Are you going to play a PlayStation 5 in 2020?
I don't know what I could tell you that was predicting the rest of 2020, I think, is a fool's errand. I don't know.
Me too. That's why it's so weird that they're like, it's happening this year.
Yeah, I will tell you that I have doubts just like you, but I couldn't tell you definitively that we won't, because who knows what in desperation Sony would do, to get this in our hands. The same with all of the, different games that are potentially going to get delayed, that haven't announced delays yet, Ghost of Tsushima, Cyberpunk, all that stuff. Like,
yeah. Cyberpunk ain't hitting September or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, but it is fascinating. What I'm curious about mostly is where the pressure is coming from to make those announcements. Do they feel pressure from Microsoft? Is that really kind of where, because it seems like both companies, I'm not seeing a lot of back and forth between, like, game announcements and technology and specs and stuff. Like, teraflops was kind of one of the only things that really people could draw direct comparisons to. I feel like much less so than the last gen shift that we saw. I'm seeing one company do a thing, and then a couple of weeks later, the other company do an immediate reaction. This seems...
Jones,
sorry.
Worth noting that the day that they revealed this controller, Xbox tweeted this weird video, like a GIF, of the share button on their controller, of a camera zooming in on their share button, and that was it.
shots fired.
Exactly. It's like, but I like don't get it. It's like a.
But I wonder if this is kind of one of those front battle line things of who's gonna duck first. You know, it's like, is Sony planning on doing this, or just waiting for Microsoft to be like, we're out, we can't do it, and then Sony's like, well, you know, just kind of seems like what everybody's doing, so we'll do it too. But then maybe it looks Microsoft look bad. I don't know.
What do you mean? What are they? The
Microsoft
console
bails
reveal?
on the console. No, the Microsoft bails on
2020.
2020
launch.
Yeah.
And then Sony's like, yeah, we had plans, but it just kind of seems we're just following the trends, what everyone else is doing. This, yeah, that's kind of the main thing I'm curious about is, is this something really internally at Sony that they're like, this is important for our bottom line, we looked at the numbers, we have to release it this year? Or are they like, oh, we're fine, we got, you know, because Sony bailed on a lot of stuff before a lot of other people did, events and stuff, and so I wonder if like they got medical people on the inside, or they got, you know, I'm trying to think of like the people that chart what human beings do. There's like a fun profession that's like that's called, where people just like chart human
sociologists.
Behavior. I guess, yeah, they have like a whole sociology team within Sony.
Freakonomicists.
Yeah, that just rang that bell, and they were like, bail on everything. We've run the numbers, and this is, you know, in like December, we're like, pandemic.
Gotcha.
Or if they're really looking at Microsoft and saying like, well, if Microsoft's still in the game, we can't leave, because
the thing that makes me, I mean, I think you're probably like, I agree with you kind of, but like, I think if they are so confident and Microsoft is so confident, the thing that I think that means is that these things are done already, that they're like close enough to being done that production pipeline shutdowns and stuff aren't going to be that big of a factor. But I mean, that seems weird that there wouldn't have been a leak. So I don't know, but like, it does seem very strange to be that confident.
Because even if these systems both have little baby launches, like, I don't necessarily see that hurting so much in the long run. That's kind of better than no launch, because then it's like did the Switch really, you know, get hurt in the long run because it was hard to get one right away, or the Wii, you know, like, these are still those were stories in and of themselves, where it was like, Ted got one, yeah. Ted, you know, it's like we were so hungry to get these systems, and if these
I think that might actually be a strategy.
The scarcity might
be, because is an advertiser,
because they can blame it on everything but themselves, you know, potentially. So.
Well, and it increases the illusion of popularity.
Right.
Like, if you only put out X number and society wants X times 2, like, oh, it's so popular, everybody's trying to get it, and no one can get it because everyone got one already. Like, you better get one as soon as it's available, you know, because they're so popular, when really it's like, we only put out 1,000 of them.
The Xbox One, when it launched, also did a staggered release. They chose a group of countries that they released in first, and then as the months went on, released in more countries. There's maybe that could happen as well. I would not want to see that. The staggered country release feels bad.
Gets them all.
Yeah.
Like, no one else gets them.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to, because, as you said, the rest of the year is just so, like, it's a toss-up. No one knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because they both answer, I think, to investors, I think they have to stay optimistic, and, like, that's what they've said and they're going for. I think saying either of them, I don't think that part they're playing chicken with each other and, like, waiting for the other to, like, say something about that. Mm-hmm. I think they truly both want to hit this holiday season, and they're doing and, like, it's out of their hands, because the production line stuff is, like, shut down right now. They who knows if they can hit it and stuff, but at the same time, yeah, like, I do wonder, Kyle, you brought the staggered, like, release thing. I wonder if they might have to do that just because they told investors this is going to happen, and, like, if they miss that mark, it's devastating for them. Mm-hmm. It might be a big deal if they can't get them out in 2020, because they were banking on that. I would hope that it's the fiscal year they have to come out in by, otherwise there'll be a problem. But I just see this as, like, it's a byproduct of all the uncertainty, and that they really want them to come out this holiday, and that they just can't say anything other than what they're allowed to say because there's investors involved. And
I think it's a fair point.
I think that's what all this is. And that's why they're doing these cool little tiny, whatever they can do to make it seem cool and like a big news event within the realm of this won't scare shareholders, this won't scare anything, but it seems positive. They're just going to keep doing that. I think that's the best they can do.
How much
right now.
time does the controller buy you?
I think the controller bought them April. I think
Honestly, yeah, I think
I
you're
think
right.
once May rolls around, people will be like, all right, so Last of Us was supposed to come out this month. What do you got for us? And I think in May, people are going to expect a Last of Us 2 update. Might not be PS5 related, but that's the next thing I think Sony will have to address is that where's The Last of Us 2 ending up now? And is Ghost of Tsushima still coming out on time? Because he didn't say anything about that getting delayed. So, they're still juggling like these two things as well. I think they're doing the best with what they have and stuff, honestly.
Okay, so we have to talk about Nier Replicant version 1.22474487139 ellipsis. This is the official name of a Nier remaster revision. I think it was called a revision, and it is a remaster, coming to PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. So Nier's got an interesting history in that it was released in Japan as Nier Replicant, and in the US as Gestalt.
Yep.
Nier Gestalt.
Well, there's two versions.
Yeah.
Yes, there's Replicant and Gestalt, and we never officially got we never officially got the Replicant side. So it's cool now that we're getting that version of the story.
What is the Gestalt version, Ben? What would they make for American audiences, global audiences?
So in Gestalt, you play as a father. You kind of play as this big, burly father, and in Replicant, you play as a younger-looking, more slender brother.
To me, this is maybe the only example, maybe of that generation. I feel like in the NES days, maybe they would do this thing where they make an entirely different main character for a game for international audiences. Rusty from Rusty's Real Deal Baseball. Also two completely different looks in Japan and international. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But anyway, it's very, very rare. It's so interesting to me to just say, like, at that time, there was just this weird kind of pandering, I feel like, to, like, Japanese companies trying to make things that people who like Gears of War might like, you know?
I always think about that Koei Tecmo Gears of War ripoff.
Yeah, me too.
That is completely forgettable, but is a pretty prime
It's
example
like the Meat
of what you're
Tower.
talking about.
Yeah, this was like in the height of the time when like even like Capcom was making all these Western studios. Like all these Japanese studios were trying to acquire Western studios to make games appealing to Western audiences, and so many of them did not succeed and are no longer around.
Because they were bad.
So that's what I like.
Yaiba,
What was the
Ninja Gaiden Z.
Rocketeer one from Capcom again? Oh, I forget that one.
Dark Sector?
Dark Sector, right? It was.
Dark Sector is a good example. Kind of. Kind of. You have like Lost Planet 3
Yeah.
also that falls there.
And so this was 10 years ago. That's why we're talking about this. Like, oh man, it was a different era. It actually totally was. We're hitting the 10th anniversary of Nier soon.
It's funny that you talk about it taking into consideration Western audiences, because in a lot of ways I feel like that is what makes Nier so interesting, is how not pandering it is. Like, it's such a bizarre game. So it's just interesting to hear it from that lens.
Ben, I had a hard time grasping it because it's, it's an action adventure game and there's fishing really early. And I'm like, what? Is this a real part of this game? And it's like, no, dude, it's not. It tricked you. It's like,
Don't go to the wrong spot.
I mean, they kind of keep tricking you.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many little things in that game that once you kind of get into the thick of it, it just gets bizarre in a really fascinating way. It's an incredibly creative game. I think it's cool because a lot of people who have only played Nier Automata, they're like, oh man, I loved Automata, I'll finally get to play Nier. And I think in a lot of ways, the original Nier is even crazier in ideas and how it structures its gameplay than its sequel. So I'm interested to see what like the new reception is going to be.
yeah, it's kind of like this game is allowed to be itself. And I think it'll be better received in the year 2020 than it was in the year 2010. I should mention that the developer is Toy Logic.
That is what I was most interested in, because the original one was developed by a now defunct studio called Cavia, who
Good stuff, Damiani.
From my experience with them, so I mean, this is my personal bias here, is that they were a workhorse studio, but they were ill-equipped to realize what they were going for with the original Nier game. I was like, when these rumors started happening about like a Nier remaster, remake, whatever, I was just excited that a good studio was going to, be able to handle this and bring the game up to date. and I don't feel like I know enough about this new studio, and I'm a little bummed. Platinum. They didn't just decide to go with Platinum to handle this. So
Yeah, Platinum's busy, dude.
that was my. I know they're busy, but man, I feel like that's such a missed opportunity. But at the same time, I'm totally gonna give this a chance.
Yeah.
I'm not writing this off by any means because it can't be worse than Cavia's like effort. Yeah.
Platinum's working on an Automata sequel. I think officially. I think they've officially announced, like, hey, we're making a direct sequel. Don't worry about
I
it.
feel like Platinum is working on 20 different things right now.
They absolutely are. Hey, what was the fourth announcement? Did that happen?
Well, the fourth announcement was like an April Fool's.
Yes.
So it
And
didn't
now
happen
they're
yet.
having now they're having a fifth announcement.
No. Here we go.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I just glanced at this, so I don't know all of the details.
I totally forgot about it. I'm Googling Platinum 4 right now.
This whole thing felt like the most unnecessary thing.
Yeah.
But I was so excited when it was
I know.
Platinum 4 and we got the first game and it was, oh
Because
man.
everyone was like just going back to the Capcom 5 or whatever like stuff because that's their origin, and there's like nothing similar about the two announcements.
What's the Capcom 5? What is that?
That was where Mikami, all the people who went to go form Platinum were originally at Capcom. They were part of oh my gosh, I'm gonna get yelled at. Was it Clover?
Yeah, Clover.
Thank you.
Nice.
Gosh, I was about to say Clever, and I was going to get railed in the comments. They were basically charged with creating these games, and I think only 4 of them actually came out. One never materialized, but it was like Beautiful Joe, PNO 3. Was it
Okami?
Beautiful Joe is actually before Clover.
Sorry. Yeah, I always get the games wrong.
Right, because Okami's not on GameCube. Excuse me, that was a PS2 game.
But those games like are viewed as like very unique and like they're looked very fondly upon. And then when people look at Platinum and their pedigree, they say like, man, it'd be great if like Capcom would have them back and stuff. So when this announcement started happening and started with 101 remastered, everyone's like, here we go. Like Platinum's gonna have like 3 more game announcements, and the excitement about them potentially being like more of a publisher role, and these are gonna be new unique titles. I think people are pretty excited, and I think they had a little too much fun with it.
They did.
Yeah. So the fourth announcement was an April Fool's joke, and now they're like, bonus stage of 5th announcement is coming
On a mysterious date of this year.
Yeah, that
What a
people
cop-out, dude.
I saw some anger.
I'm disappointed, personally. Worth mentioning that Yoko Taro, the director, Yosuke Saito, the producer, and composer Keiichi Okabe are still going to work on this Replicant remaster, remake / but yeah, it is Toy Logic is not an esteemed developer, so it is definitely outsourced.
Gotcha. Real quick, Kyle. Capcom
Sure.
5, P&O 3 is P&O 3, Beautiful Joe, Resident Evil 4, Killer 7, and the canceled project was Dead Phoenix.
Dead Phoenix.
That never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why they called it the Platinum 4, because there were only 4.
I have to wonder, and maybe this is just like hope, but if this Nier remaster has some tricks up its sleeve. Like if anybody were to do it for a remaster, I feel like it would be Yoko Taro.
Yeah.
And like if you do something in a certain way or whatever, that you will get some like crazy video hinting at what's to come, or I don't know. I can just see that sort of shenanigans coming.
That's what's fun about calling it a new version, is you have that freedom. Oh, and it should be said, like, there's a trailer for it, but it shows nothing. It shows like 4 environmental shots. You don't get a clear idea of how this game is going to look. Also worth mentioning that on that same day, Nier Reincarnation was also announced, which is a free-to-play mobile game, and that is the last you'll hear about that game on this podcast, most likely. Unless, like Ben says, it is subverting expectations in the wildest ways, which is totally possible.
Sometimes things just end up being sad, though.
Sometimes they're just sad. Do you all hear that? Sounds like it's podcast halftime.
From late night tacos to early morning energy drinks, sometimes you just need what you need delivered fast. And that's where Postmates comes in. What did I get from Postmates? I got a little extra credit. Thank you very much, Postmates. My wife Amanda and I enjoyed it. We ordered some Pitfire Pizza, which is local here on the west side. and we got some Pitfire, and very much
Let's
enjoyed
be completely open. Tell me
Yeah.
how much credit.
I think it was $50.
Okay, nice.
I think it's $50.
Great.
Dude, I've been ordering a lot of, I've been ordering from a lot of different places.
It's just getting put into the
I have
yeah.
then since ordered from Pitfire again on a later date. Actually,
Sure.
tomorrow night's pizza night. We're excited because we got from Pitfire. You can get, especially now because a lot of restaurants are getting creative nowadays. But we can order the pizzas and they don't actually they just prepare them and everything, and then you put them in the oven yourselves, like DiGiorno style. And so we've had 2 pizzas in the freezer that we had the same style last week, a pepperoni and a mushroom. And those were good.
Jones, will you promise me that when you put it in the oven, you say it's not DiGiorno, it's delivery?
I'll say it's not DiGiorno, it's Pitfire. That's what I'll say. But Pitfire's really great, and again, just I miss that flavor. We would certainly love to get in the car and drive over to Pitfire, but we can't do that now, which is yet another reason why Postmates can certainly be a valuable thing to you. If you are like me, you probably start thinking about what to eat for dinner while you're eating lunch. I love food, that's why I love using Postmates. They deliver food from every restaurant I can think of right to my door, but Postmates doesn't just deliver burgers and sushi, they actually make my life easier with grocery delivery and whatever I can think of delivery too, convenience stores, clothing stores, you name it. So no more trips to the store, no more late night fast food runs. I don't even have to worry about where to grab lunch anymore. Just download Postmates on iOS or Android, find your favorites, and get anything you want delivered within the hour. For a limited time, Postmates is giving our listeners $100 of free delivery credit for your first 7 days. To start your free deliveries, download the app and use code EasyAllies.
That's like Brewster's Billions, dude. You gotta. It's like, how do I spend $100 on food in 7 days?
How do you not spend $100 on food in 7 days?
I love that. Okay, cool.
That's code EasyAllies for $100 of free delivery credit with no minimum purchase for your first 7 days when you download the Postmates app. Anything you need, anytime you need it, Postmate it. And
I didn't know you could get clothes.
now you know. And if you're a patron of Easy Allies, thank you.
Thank you, Jones. You know, I love to do time capsule segments in podcasts. I think something very interesting is about to happen in 8 minutes of our recording. It is 8:52 p.m. on the Pacific Coast as we record this podcast.
Gotta wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Final Fantasy VII Remake is about to launch, and I think this may be an event. I think this might be one of those rare video game launches that is actually an event in itself. How's the panel feeling?
It's so weird because mine got shipped to me on Wednesday, so I've been playing it. So like I can't like the launch already happened.
You did not tell us this. This is gonna sit for a week.
Aha!
Why would I tell you and not just play the game?
This is ice cold.
Yeah, telling us is wasting precious FF7 time.
Yeah, it's wasting precious time.
Okay. All right.
The one time getting a physical copy was better.
Yeah. Did you get like a deluxe edition too?
I got the first class edition.
With the motorcycle?
The motorcycle, yeah.
Dang.
Ben, it's okay.
It paid off. He got two bonus days because he got
It
that
paid
motorcycle.
Oh.
Yeah.
That motorcycle
Worth it. You got it early.
sped that game to his house.
Yeah. Personally delivered by Cloud.
Yeah.
Now I'm picturing Cloud like a small soldier's like pulling up into your house with the CD.
That game
get
backflipped
in.
onto his balcony.
Get in.
It's the Final Fantasy VII remake. I mean, I feel like I've been thinking about this game since I first heard about it before the PS3 was out. It is. I mean, I don't know if it's an event for everybody else, but it's definitely an event for me for sure. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It's a big
deal. And if it's good, it's an even better deal.
Brad says it's good.
Yeah. Easy Allies.
I didn't watch
review?
that review, not because,
Same, dude.
I
Yeah.
don't
I
trust
watched-
Brad or anything.
Yeah.
I watched like the
Don't wanna
first
spoil
30
myself.
seconds and then I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I watching
I
this?
cut that review, baby, and I was joking with Brad. There's a couple things like I put into the review, and I was like, no. And I took it out. And I was like, oh, what a fun moment. That's cool. It's really pointant and stuff. And then I put it in like, that's too much. That's too much.
That's growth.
That's too on the nose.
That's gross.
Jones,
But no, Jones-
in 2015 when this game was announced, you would not have had that restraint.
Oh no, I would have.
You would have been excitedly throwing in things to push the.
In 2005, I would have put the whole game up. I would have.
Yeah, true. That's
older.
a really funny thing about cutting reviews for video games is like a lot of times the best shots and the best stuff when you're editing it, you're like, I shouldn't put this in. Like I should make a worse review because this is a better moment for playing it in the game. It's like doing you a favor that the review isn't quite as good.
Just clicking open clips. Oh, the first thing that I saw was he had music. So I'd go through the music first, and what Brad would do is he would stop in an environment and be like, oh, this is good music. So he would just stop the character moving and let the music loop. And there was one I clicked open, and from my limited exposure to Final Fantasy VII, there was one environment that I hadn't seen from trailers that was literally just Cloud standing, and then you can see it in the background. And I was like, oh,
taking it back.
That looks amazing, and it's like I even knew what that was. I know what that is. That's cool.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous, good.
Beautiful.
And I can officially say I'm going to name drop it right now because the game is going to be out by the time this podcast is done. In the cast of Final Fantasy VII Remake, Amanda Troop.
Really?
Ooh, that's a scoop.
And it's fun because you'll hear they rip the
awesome.
people talking all over that game, and so. Keep your ears peeled.
Ooh.
Yeah, you'll hear her talking.
This will be a fun game, which Ally gets first.
That's fun.
So,
Damiani, is this gonna, by the end of the year, will we look back at this game as the highest profile release? Man, that was a big deal. That was the tent pole of the year.
With the way things are going, I feel good about saying yes to that. Because I don't really think any other high-profile things are going to make it out this year, just because of the current situation. But let's say in a hypothetical alternate reality, none of this happened, and all the big other games we suppose were coming out, I think it still would. I absolutely think it would stand up as in my eyes, it's already going to be bigger than Resident Evil 3 Remake. It's easily going to eclipse that. And I think the only things that were going to come out this year, they still have a chance. No one's saying they're not coming out, but The Last of Us 2, potentially. I still think this is going to be way bigger than The Last of Us 2. And Cyberpunk. I think Cyberpunk could potentially rival this. But I don't think it's going to make this year either at this point.
Yeah, I don't think it's...
and then when I thought Breath of the Wild 2 was coming out this year, I thought maybe that had a chance, but I don't think that's coming out this year anymore either. So I don't think there's anything coming out this year that's going to come close to Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's like Last of Us 2 will be the only thing that remotely approaches this.
The conversation around this game is just not going to stop because there's going to be everybody under the hood, try not to spoil things, although people are going to get spoiled anyway, about all the different changes and all the stuff that was different. And then there's going to be the arguments about well, this happened in the original game, but I'm upset that this changed and that they changed it to this. And then there's going to be the other camp that's no, but it's better now. It makes sense because storytelling was limited in the 90s. The Square's gotten better at this. The tech is better. So why not tell a different story? And then there's going to be all of the crazy new stuff that they've added that even past hinting at further chapters that are going to release for Final Fantasy VII Remake, maybe you're even introducing new things into the world of Final Fantasy VII that weren't even there. So everyone's got to dig up Crisis Core, rewatch Advent Children, where and just kind of it's just going to start this whole new renaissance of just rebooting all of that lore and all of that, all those characters and all that stuff, all of the fan fiction and the speculation about if we got introduced to this character this way and this happens to them later, how are they going to change that? It's just
exactly the fact,
it's gonna be relentless.
The way that you described that was so perfect and tiring. I feel like I just had the next 6 months flash out before my eyes. But I also feel like a benefit of getting older and being in this industry now for a number of years, you also build up resistance to that stuff. Whatever. People are gonna whine on Twitter. It's fine. I just want to play the game. That's all I want. Whine away. Have fun.
And this isn't even completed yet. This is going to be the first part. So, the speculation, I think this is why what's going to hit, the 1-2 whammy is this isn't over when it comes out.
Yeah.
There's going to be more. There's people speculating about how they're going to do the other stuff now. And it's just going to be a conversation that just keeps going. And maybe they show something else. So, it's definitely going to have a lot of potency.
And did they say 3 parts, right? Or did they never say how many?
They haven't said.
They've not said how many.
Hope myself and you guys on this panel do not get spoiled. I really hope.
Yeah, I went media blackout so far. I feel so good about just starting it tonight. I'm happy. I'm satisfied with just having tonight by myself.
Kyle, I just like you, I avoided so much of the media up to this, and I really feel like it paid off.
Yeah.
The thing I'm terrified about is that, like, there's going to be that moment, you know, from that first trailer where we realize, like, oh, damn it, that's like the last shot of this game is in that first trailer, you know, like that first trailer we all saw.
It's valid fear. We'll find out. We'll find out soon enough.
Who knows?
I do want to talk about the future. I want to talk about if other games can, let's say this game is a success, and it's at least a moderate success already, right? If they can emulate it in two ways. One, I wonder if there will be more high caliber remasters along these lines, along RE2 lines. And then secondly, I wonder if there will be more multi-game stories, which I feel like was a last gen thing that really died off this gen. Like the idea of Mass Effects, you're carrying your story in between games. That quickly died off. Nobody's trying that anymore. And so, yeah, my two questions. Sorry?
You're right with Mass Effect. That hasn't really been a trend. Doesn't really happen. Yeah, wow.
Is it coming back?
I mean, like, there are a lot of, like, JRPGs that do that still, I feel like. But other than that, yeah.
Like, you mean Trails of Cold Steel?
Yeah, Trails and, I don't know if Xenoblade Chronicles does that or whatever, but...
Are you talking about, like, multi-game installments?
Story. Like a story carrying over multi-games.
Like Xenosaga does that.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Big Time does that.
Kinda. Yeah.
Well, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, because I think if
I don't want to know.
I think if you're once in a generation, it doesn't count. I feel like if you're doing one every 5 years, it's like, okay, buddy.
I feel like this is a tricky question, Kyle, because, and this has kind of always been the case, Final Fantasy VII has a very particular cachet, right? Like, it was a very pivotal game and a very pivotal system. Like, it blew the doors open, and I think it is particularly special to a wide number of people in a way that a lot of games aren't. And so I don't think a lot of series could get away with this kind of production.
Ben, I'd say there's like 5 games in the history of the industry that are that kind of like Ocarina of Time, you know, and like 3 others, you know, that like were that earth shattering and would that raise that many questions if they were redone in this way. And but whether people might attempt it is a different thing. Looking at Electronic Arts.
Yeah, if it's funny, if you look at the momentum to this game's announcement, even to its release, just the seeds that were planted for so long. Like Ben said, he heard about it before the PS3.
Well, just the technical demo, you know, planting the seed in your mind.
Yeah. There's no other game that has these kind of seeds. Nobody has made the investment that this game had, whether that was fair or not, right? But yeah, I think it's truly special in this anticipation. I don't think it can be replicated.
Well, and we talked about this kind of last time, but like, I see not many trying to be this intense of a remaster, you know, like it seems like Capcom's kind of got it down to an art with their Resident Evil games, and I imagine they'll keep going with that, pulling for Code Veronica and Dino Crisis, but like I think that it's definitely going to take a lot of the wind out of the sails of remasters, like because these are so good that, like, you know, we were talking about the Nintendo remasters, like more and more of those that come out, everyone's just gonna be like, yeah, okay, it's an up-res, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like we've gotten so many remakes and remasters though that I think, particularly among like the enthusiast crowd, I think people are pretty conditioned to them. Like a lot of times when I see a remaster for a smaller game, people are just happy that it's getting attention. I don't think they're like, oh man, I super expected this to be this huge, crazy big remake. They're just happy it's there.
Right, I guess that's kind of what I mean is, like, they already feel kind of just like, well, naturally you'd put that out on the new system. Sure, yeah. Like, they don't feel special remasters, is I guess what I mean, like, already. Whereas these kind of remakes feel momentous, and I think Jones is right. Like, I think 10 or 15 games maybe deserve it, and 2 or 3 would be this earth-shattering.
I almost feel like Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil 2 and 3, though, are almost in a different category from a remake even. Like I do feel like reimagining is maybe even more apt than just remakes, because there are things that technically fall under the remake banner that feel, I guess, more in line with what the original game did, whereas the time disparity between the two of them and the transformation between them is huge.
It's so funny. I think that easily you can go like the Hollywood is just remaking movies, just making sequels. There's no original ideas. I'm honestly, Ben, if these are reimaginings, totally fine with that, because honestly those old video game ideas are more creative than new video game ideas.
Right. Yeah. And in a lot of ways when they redo movies, it's like, even as a big film buff, even as like a huge fan of those films, it's like I'm not necessarily a huge fan of where we're at now with cinema in this regard, like where this genre of film is at, or where sci-fi or thrillers or horror or whatever is. So it's like you say something's coming back, like, oh, we're going to make, like, you know, we're going to make a new Child's Play. It's like, oh, okay. You know, whereas like, where it's like, it's been 20 years, more than 20 years since Final Fantasy VII came out. And it's like, holy cow, yeah, let's go. Like, we've learned so much. Tech has come so far. And I think that's like the thing that just blows me away about FF7, and I would just love to be a fly on the wall for all of the, not the specific development meetings for all of those decisions, but like the big budget meetings where they were like, okay, how much are we going to spend on this, and what were the moments where maybe that jumped or lessened? Because it's one thing to like just take that on. It's one thing just to promise you're going to be doing a Final Fantasy VII remake. It's another thing to not make it turn-based and be like, no, we're going to make an action. And then it's another thing to be like, no, we're going to make this on its own competitively awesome amongst all action adventure games in 2020. Like,
yeah, well, I mean,
everything about this game is just completely blowing way past any expectation I could possibly have.
Part of the story we know, Jones, is that CyberConnect was working on it, and it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
It wasn't, like you said, it wasn't this blow them away thing.
That's really cool to me. Like, and it's even cooler with the fact that like I don't have that deep-seated love of FF7.
Right.
You know, and so it's, you know, seeing what they did and being like, yeah, you know, like good for you. You know, like you didn't like, it just doesn't seem like the regular, normal, expected business thing that you would do for them to have so much pride in it and realize like there's no going back from this. Like if we mess this up and then ever want to do 9 or do, you know, or when we announce 16 or whatever, like this could hurt a lot of stuff. Like we really need to kick at, like it makes me think that when there were some design decisions and it was like we're trying to cut corners, it's like, let's not cut this corner, not because we know it's going to financially work for us, but because we have a not cut corners rule. You see that sign over there? You know, it's just like, we're just not doing that for this game. This is the one exception. Let's just kick ass in every possible way that we can.
I have a question for you guys real quick. Are like this, for all these remasters, Resident Evil, this, how often are like original producers or directors or creatives involved on the remaster? Do you know if
I would say
ever?
seldom, right? Seldom they're even working for the same company. So I would say this is a rare occurrence too.
Yeah,
and with the
Nier
thing too.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about in film how it's happened a few times where people have made shot-for-shot remakes.
Yeah, Psycho.
And, like Psycho, yeah, and like Michael Haneke made a shot-for-shot of his own movie, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's like just kind of an interesting thing where it's like, yeah, now you have new people reinterpreting this kind of source material, adding their own flair and stuff. I'm all about it. I think it's really interesting.
That's why RE1 was so great, because that was Mikami. That was him going back and being like, let me try this again, you know? And like, and it's just better. It's just literally a better, like it makes RE1 look bad in a weird way, you know? It makes it like not scary in a strange way.
Kyle, you mentioned old video game ideas being better than new video game ideas. And while I don't agree with that wholeheartedly, there are definitely times where that smacks me in the face. So I've been kind of playing Resident Evil Resistance and Resident Evil Outbreak simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And Resident Evil Outbreak is fascinating because it's not perfect and it's rough in a lot of ways. But
is that
it feels
the PS2
like
one?
The PS2 one that had online.
Great.
Right?
I remember that.
It's part of Capcom's online initiative along with Monster Hunter and Auto Modelista and all this stuff. And it's a really interesting game because it feels like they're trying to solve a problem. And they're trying to be like you can, as you're playing it, you see like the developers' minds at work. Like, how do we make Resident Evil work online? And there's a lot I like about Resistance, but you boot up Resistance and you're like, yeah, they just threw loot boxes in here, didn't they? They just did that. Like, that in some ways, like, that same spirit isn't there. It doesn't feel as creatively motivated. It feels a little bit more copycatish.
Yeah, Ben, and I remember times when we were playing through Final Fantasy VII, and there's so many moments where like, they don't do this anymore.
Yeah.
They don't do stuff like that anymore.
Yeah, like, think about how many weird-ass things you can do in Final Fantasy VII. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Damiani, how happy are you tonight?
I mean, I'm happy.
Scale of 1 to 10.
I'm not playing it tonight. I play it tomorrow at noon.
Oh, because you were saving your first time for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
the sacrifice we make.
I mean, this is something. I think the best way to put this is like I think Jones, you were alluding to there are a few other games that could potentially approach this caliber. I don't think anything can at this point, because even something like the bigs, like Ocarina of Time, like Diablo 2, whatever you want to like go back and revisit and reimagine. The thing is, FF7 Remake has been in the minds of people since the 2000s, since PS2, because there was the report that said a bunch of the PS1 Final Fantasy games are getting remade, starting with Final Fantasy VII, and then we got the PS3 tech demo. It's been, like, for almost like for 15 plus years, it has been in like a thing that has been teased, that like people have dreamed of and imagined, and I would say that like it's surreal that it's here. Like, I don't think it's gonna like dawn on me until I start playing it that like this is the final game. It's not a demo, not an E3 build. Like, this is it. But at the same time, it's a little bittersweet because it is not the whole thing. I'm gonna like, my biggest dread is that all this excitement, all these emotions I'm gonna feel about this, it's gonna come to an end, and I'm just gonna be waiting for who knows how long for the rest of this, and it's gonna hurt even more knowing that I know how much more they have to go. Like, when I see where this ends, I'm going to know they have this much more to go at least. And yeah, I'm still struggling with that. Like, I'm dreading that moment. It's like inevitable. I'm going to have to reconcile that, like, this part 1, which is not called part 1, will end. And I might have a great time with it. And I'm going to love talking about it with everyone for a few months. But there's also going to be that agony of like, oh, there's
That's
so much
the only thing I think
more.
can shoot it down at the end of the year. That's
exactly.
The only thing I think could be is if we do get Cyberpunk, if we do get Last of Us Part 2, it will be like that ending though.
It's like an asterisk, by it. Yeah.
It'll be like Lord of the Rings, where the third one got all the Oscars, but it was
yeah.
It was really for the whole trilogy. Like,
Wait a minute. By the end of this, you could just do a fascinating and super long retrospective on just the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't even need to include any other games.
Yeah.
Yeah, Damiani, what's really scary, and I mean, I think maybe you just said this, but like, this will give you an exact idea of how long each part's going to be, too. So we'll have an idea of like, okay, yeah, they're going to need to do 2 more parts, like if each one is this size, or like however big this one is. You know, if they get...
What if it's like 10 parts?
I mean, I don't. That's Ben. That's not like you're laughing, but at the same time, like if they want to do theoretically everything, it's like there's no way it's going to be 3 parts. It's going to be more. But I don't know where this ends, and I'm assuming it does not end the overworld part of the game. Like, they don't address that in this game. I think they don't have to, because they'll probably end it before any of that stuff. That's going to be the biggest question. That's one of the biggest. A huge element of the original game, that how are they going to they've demonstrated they can translate so much of the original well into this new style, but the overall, how they're going to handle that, I think, is critical, and that's going to be a long wait potentially to know how they're going to do that.
So you're tapping on something that I find really fun, Damiani.
Okay.
It is the anticipation. And I'm almost excited for Square Enix to be part of the conversation again, part of this anticipation, part of this thing everybody wants. For them, it's kind of like when a bad NFL team is just suddenly good. And it's like, yes, them again. Yeah, they're part of the conversation again. I feel like it's very fun to have this. It's going to be a running through line. And then once we get that next game, it's going to be like, what are they going to do with the next one? And I think that anticipating video games is part of being a fan of video games in the weirdest, saddest way. And so, I'm in.
Well, and
I love that part of it.
The flip side of that, like take Kentucky Route Zero as an example. Like it took them 10 years to put out all 5 acts, and they did interstitials, and like the evolution of that game with technology and with kind of like the things that they were technically capable of saying, the things that they were interested in saying, and society moved, over the course of 10 years, and they kind of morphed along with it to a certain extent without sacrificing their initial, message. But I think that what might be really fascinating, if this is a prolonged enterprise of 2, 3, 4, 5 games, whatever, is how will Final Fantasy adjust and evolve to match where we are in 2026 when Part 2 comes out?
Yeah.
Well, I almost feel like the opposite is happening, where I feel like the themes of Final Fantasy VII are lining up more with the actual world.
We just
whereas,
live in
we're catching up.
Midgard.
Right. I feel like the ideas that they were presenting in 1997 of the planet dying and people taking advantage of it are hitting me in a totally different way than when I first played the game.
We just are cyberpunk now. Like, we're living in it. Like, it just is our reality. So,
and
it's,
also,
less
Ian,
and less novel.
the fact, like, how many years this will take, just as, like, technology improves and stuff, like, how potentially different the final installment might feel from, like, the first installment. Advances they make in AI, like, whatever it's gonna be, that the original game feels dated or something like that, where they have to go back and remaster that one to to update it, because it doesn't feel like there'll be such a gap.
Count
like
on it.
There's gonna be the
haptics.
DualSense
Buster sword
haptics.
haptics, bro. Gotta put
We're
them
gonna
in.
change everything.
Put 'em
Those
in.
haptics.
I could see all like conversations of like Final Fantasy VII 6 was kind of a slump, but Final Fantasy VII 7 brought it back, and boy, Final Fantasy VII 8, that was my favorite. That was really
Ben,
captured the best
God.
part.
Do you hope it's
You know
7
what's gonna be-
parts, and it, like, when you get the complete collection, they make a 7 on the spine or whatever?
They need to do like they
That'd be
did
cool.
with the Dragon Ball Z VHS, and they like make a picture
Yeah.
with it. You get you
What
line
if-
up all the boxes.
I just had a terrifying thought. What if Part 2 skips a generation? Like, what if it takes them that long?
Don't say that. Don't just.
Ian, that's really interesting. We're gonna move into Love and Respect right now.
Okay.
Do 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 Love and Respect. Ian, first Love and Respect is from Faraz Rizvi, who says, "Give kudos to Ian with his spot-on prediction during the Final Fantasy VII reveal in 2015. Ian, you said it's going to come out in 5 years."
Yeah.
Good solid
Yeah.
number.
So
remember
Ian
that.
here's
My hope is that-
Ian, you're being scared that skipping a generation just made it happen.
Oh no!
You just made that the
Actually,
future.
well, here's the thing.
Gotta get Huber
Here's the
back.
thing. They've got the engine now.
Yeah.
So I think that shaves
Yeah.
at least 2 years off.
I
of
agree.
It. Like this one might be 3 years.
Yeah, it had a
2,
bumpy
3
road.
years.
It definitely had a bumpy road that
Yeah.
hopefully won't be replicated.
Yeah.
Because I don't see them reinventing the wheel for parts 2 and 3. I think they're just going to want to get them out.
And I
Yeah.
think the more accolades come in, the more sales come in, the more they just grease those wheels. And they're like, yeah, we did it. Go,
If-
go. Like,
If they're really, I mean, like the hope against hope, the fervent hope is that they split into teams and they're James Cameroning it or whatever, where like the initial wait was very, very long, but then it's Avatar 4, 5, 6, whatever, like a year apart, or like they're pulling a Star Wars, except they thought it through first, where it's like a year apart, you know?
How
I
many
mean-
Avatar movies are they making?
4
5.
total,
25.
so 3 more, right?
4 more.
Or 4 more? Jeez.
4 more.
With
I'll say that ride, dude. Like I've never been like
Oh, don't talk
I don't
about
hate
theme parks.
Avatar, but I know. But the Flight of Passage was the most transformational ride I think I've ever been on. That thing was incredible,
you're just killing Jones
worth the
right now.
3-hour wait.
Do you think there is one rich person who is allowed to use Disneyland
No.
in this time?
There's
No.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, they
like-
gotta
I
make.
feel like money bypasses
Not like
everything.
use it, but I
Every
mean they
rule.
gotta cut those trees. They gotta maintain that stuff.
might
So
be able to be
there's
like the-
somebody in there right now. You know.
There's somebody in there
When
right
it
now.
reopens.
But I
Clean it
think
up.
Yeah.
I bet you Brad Pitt could get someone on the phone.
Yeah.
You think and
No.
be like, here's $1 million. Let me hit Disneyland.
The optics will be too bad if it got out. That
Well, the
happened.
optics would be
Bad
bad.
optics.
He
No.
would, I'm not saying he would do
No.
it, but I'm saying he could do it.
Okay.
Has Brad Pitt
Highest
held
chance, yes.
a dual sense?
Yes.
He could get on the phone and do that. That's more believable for sure.
Let's be real right now. I think Brad Pitt could hold a dual sense in 72 hours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because they'd want him to like
me a dual
tweet
sense.
it or put an Instagram post up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to touch it.
Just gotta George.
And he just says
give me that
it.
dual
This
sense.
it makes sense.
Okay.
Right.
Next, allies. As a physician during the current COVID pandemic, the time I have to play games is limited to... Yes, thank you.
Yes.
The time I have to play games is limited to late at night after I've gotten home and spend a little time with my family before they all go to bed. I've recently picked up Animal Crossing as a distraction/stress relief from everything going on. I'm enjoying the game, but all of my time is at night since it's based on the real world
here
clock.
we go.
My question is, am I missing out on things to only be playing at night? Should I set my Switch's internal time to a different hour, i.e. 12 hours off, so I play the game in the day, or accept that my island life will be experienced almost exclusively at night? Would be interested to hear from the panel as well as any other allies' thoughts. Thanks for all you do in helping us distract ourselves for a few hours a week from everything going on, and stay safe, fellow allies. Love and respect, Jared.
Oh, I
It
thought
depends on
Jones?
when night starts for him.
Yeah.
Or for them. Because like if they get there before 8:30 p.m., they can still do everything. But if you're not starting until 11 p.m.,
The store is closed.
the stores are closed.
Right.
The game is. I don't think they
you
should put
can
that stress on them. They already have like a stressful day. Like, absolutely change the clock. Like, no one's gonna like. It's totally cool. There are
Well-
different time zones and stuff. Like,
Right.
just to set it to that and play that way. And if life returns back to normal, you can readjust your time and stuff. And it's like one day's adjustment's not going to screw with anything with your game drastically.
Jones is
So,
making me nervous. Here we go.
Well, but here's the thing about Animal Crossing is that
Okay.
it all depends on what he wants to get out of Animal Crossing. He
Right.
did not say, I feel like I'm not getting enough out of it. He asked, am I? I don't know. Like, I'm playing it and I'm having a good time. Then it's like, then you're set.
Then that's
Yeah.
right.
Because
True.
if you change the time, now you're actually potentially handling more stress. Now you get home and you're jumping in during the day and you're like, oh, damn, oh, there's all these bugs and oh, who's this person coming? Oh, man, there's a lot. Whereas like now you're coming in at night, the music's chill, the lights are down. Like now it's actually matching your life, And so like this is what the world is like right now, And so I do like that sync. Plus, say hopefully you get a day off, hopefully the stresses of your work lessen, and then hopefully on a Sunday you finally get a chance, and then I've been traveling to allies towns and it's crazy when like I'll go to somebody in the UK and like, oh, it's in the morning, and like, oh, it's fun, and I've just traveled over to their town, and it's nice to see that difference. Whereas that moment you switch the clock over, like now you don't you've disconnected your brain from how that works.
Yeah.
It depends on
what they
what you
want, because
So,
if
yeah,
they want to make significant progress, they're
Right.
I think playing at night is going to
But
be
what's significant? It doesn't matter. There's no, you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah, it's what their goal was. If they
There's
want, if
no,
they want
like,
to,
quotation
boss.
marks, like
if they
getting
want
a
to,
house.
if they want to
Getting a
build,
house is
they want to
significant.
build their house. They want to build up their town. They want to bring in more people. Like that's
Amanda's-
a big
Tarantula
thing.
Island.
In Amanda's town, and she's been playing since launch. Nook is still in a tent. She doesn't care. Like I'm like,
What?
I'm like, you don't have your resident. She doesn't care.
Cool.
But she's made all of the Easter
Yeah.
things.
How's that even possible?
So it's
Wow,
like, it
she's
doesn't-
the opposite of me.
Exactly. Everyone's the opposite of everybody else. So it's just
I
like,
want Easter to go away.
like when I go to
Oh, I do
when I go
too.
to other people's islands, you can clearly tell like that's what you care about, And it's funny
Yeah.
because some people are like, I still have a lot of work to do, and it's like you are so much more committed. Like there's brick everywhere. Like you're going. This is nuts, dude. Like their residential town, their museums just like on its own level and surrounded by waterfalls, and they're like, I got a lot of stuff to do, and you're like, this is insane, So it's
I've
just
seen the credits 8 times.
there's no
I'm not
right
even
yeah
there.
there's no right way to play that game, and so I think just personally for me,
Yeah.
like I want everybody to do what they want to do. But I definitely do think there's a tremendous value in that shift when if you do have like an hour at 6 a.m. and you see the sunrise in that game, like when and you look out your window, like I think that connection is important. I think not necessarily important. I think there's value to it, but at the same time, like if your store is always closed and you're like, who are these Nook kids? I want to go meet them. Yeah.
It actually that's support for not advancing your game if you can only play at night, because if you still have the tent and you don't have the shop, you can always buy and sell things.
Oh sure, yeah.
Oh,
But you just won't have as much stuff.
Right.
But yeah.
cool. I like nighttime vibes. I like the idea that all the
Oh,
dumb
yeah.
animals are asleep and it's just me on this island.
That 1 a.m. music is fire.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
Just quick shout out to healthcare professionals. Like my dad was one. I mean, before all this, but like, the hours he would work were nuts in the ER. But like my friend Pam just told me today, she's a doctor, and Today was her first day off in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the hours.
And
the
I'm
hours
just like,
they're
oh
working.
my god.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to healthcare professionals, everybody. It's nuts out there.
Shout out.
Shout out. We are indebted to you. Thank you. We're going to play a game. Time to play a game. This is Maxwell House Coffee presents Good to the Last Drop Games. Not sponsored by Maxwell House Coffee.
Not sponsored.
So, okay. Using data gathered from howlongtobeat.com, you will be provided with 3 categories of completion for today's candidates, and you must give recommendations on how much the game should be consumed. Okay. So if it's just the main story, you say just a cup, please. If somebody should do main and some extra stuff, say please fill her up. And if they should do completionist, you say good to the last drop. This will make sense as we play.
Good.
Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn. The main story is 22 and a half hours long. With extras, the game is 44 hours. Completionist, 60 hours.
Are we each doing it? Or
Generally, we tend to agree.
I
like to hear some takes.
I'd say
On
fill her
Horizon.
up. I'm tempted
Fill
to
her
say
up,
good
yeah.
to the last drop because that game was kind of like Spider-Man for me. I normally don't do 100%. I normally do not chase a platinum, and I think I got everything in that. I think it was just very laid. Maybe like those things that show you what the world used to look like. I don't think I got all of those.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe fill her up is fine. But they had only had one expansion, and they put it right in the campaign. So if you get the complete version, you won't even notice. You'll just be like, oh yeah, it was that ice chapter, I guess, was extra. But it just,
I like
it
extras because the armor was fun to unlock and it's very rewarding to have.
and everything's just labeled really well. Everything is
Yeah.
it's not like you're running around circles being like, where's this dumb little thing? It's like, it's there,
Yeah.
go get it.
I can only speak to my experience, but Horizon was one of those games that I don't feel like I barreled through, but I also wasn't like, okay, I absolutely have to do everything. Like I kind of just went with a go with the flow approach, and I definitely didn't do everything, but I definitely messed around a little bit, and that felt good to me. Like I felt like I had a good personal pace, but at the same time I wasn't like Spider-Man. I definitely had that urge to do everything, and to me that was a good to the last drop, and this wasn't
Absolutely.
quite there.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
I feel bad I didn't even finish my cup.
Ooh,
I played that
Yeah.
game for like 6-7 hours, and I was like, all right.
totally fair.
Yeah,
You had a couple of sips.
Defaulting
Yeah.
to the
Burned my
other
tongue.
panelist
Put it
here. And
Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Main story is 26 and a half hours. Main and extras, 30 and a half hours. Completionist, 39 hours.
that's good to the last drop.
I feel like it's close
Phil.
enough. You might as well.
You
yeah.
can all the Skulltulas?
fill her up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I-
Yeah. You bet your ass I am.
I think
feel
I
like
hate getting the Skulltulas.
yeah, I think
You gotta heal them. You
100
gotta heal that family.
but you don't need. I don't think you need all of them to do that. I mean, it's been a long
We're
time.
talking completionist. So
No, I know.
completionist means you're doing everything in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I said fill her up because I think there's a good amount of side quests in there to experience, but historically for me, Zelda games are not like fun to 100%.
Yeah, how
Like,
many, amongst the panel, how many Zelda games have you maxed out all your hearts in first playthrough?
Well, first playthrough,
first
0.
playthrough, very
Yeah.
few. Yeah, I don't know. First
I'd-
playthrough, very few, if any.
I maxed out my own thing in Breath of the Wild, I think.
Cool.
I only
not.
missed like
Legit.
3 shrines, I think.
I mean, I eventually did, but I
Dang.
beat the game before I had maxed out my hearts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I say
I
fill
mean,
her up.
that's fine.
Okay.
Also,
I just
what-
really
yeah.
like Ocarina of Time. That's all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, also what version are we talking about? You know, because like if you want to play on a TV, that's the
We're talking N64.
N64. If you want to, if you're playing the 3DS version, it's just like if you want to spend that much, 40 hours on a handheld for one game. Like, I don't know.
It's okay. This is stupid. I admit that this is stupid, but I think part of the reason I feel more compelled to get all the heart pieces in a Zelda game as opposed to getting collectibles in other games is there's just something powerful about seeing all those hearts stacked up. Like when they're all there and you have those rows of hearts, there's just something beautiful about
A full magic meter.
Confidence.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it is. It's like
Well, it's symmetrical, man. The moment you start the second row, it's like, you just have this one
Right,
heart on the bottom
exactly.
second row. You're like, I might as well not even have that heart. Just
Yeah.
start
They
the
play
second
on
row
OCD
when I have like 4
tendencies.
hearts on there, but
Yes.
not one. Like,
Yes.
That was honestly, Brandon, in Breath of the Wild, that was my main motivator for filling up my
you
bars.
stop the
was, like,
campaign dead in its tracks and just.
yeah, I was like staring up at the corner. I was like, oh, that looks so weird.
Batman Arkham City.
Man, am I gonna have finished any of these?
Oh, we'll see. Actually, yeah, there's one coming up. Main story, 12 and a half hours. Main and extra, 21 and a half hours. So, 9-hour difference there. Completionist, 46 and a half
Forget
hours.
about it. Fill it up. Just
Good lord.
Fill it up.
Fill it up, but that's some story stuff. There's some, there's
Yes.
some of those secrets,
Yes.
but like
Sure.
arguably
True,
best
true,
stuff
true.
in the game. So
Is this the
I-
one with the Riddler trophies?
They all have.
If you're doing completionist,
This
though,
is
you're getting a
the
lot of
Mr.
Riddler
Freeze.
trophies.
Oh,
Oh, okay,
I mean,
okay, okay.
Huber was so funny baiting me with that Arkham Knight boss fight. I'm like, not gonna happen.
I love the Arkham games, and some of those side quests, particularly in Arkham City, are amazing. I don't enjoy going after all of the Riddler trophies. Like, some of them, but doing all of them, I get bored of it and I just don't want to do it. Just don't want to do it.
Because it's not all like solving a nice little puzzle. Sometimes it's just like a time challenge.
Sure, yeah.
It's like,
They
come
just
on.
get annoying.
Yeah.
But
To
it's
me.
it's Arkham. The Arkham games are so special. I mean, I can't remember it. Arkham Knight's just fresh in my mind because it's the last one that I played. But I can't remember any game that the 100% completionist activity literally yells at you. Like, you run around that city and Riddler's literally like, "Well, I guess you're a pussy, aren't you, Batman?" And you're like, dude, I'm just trying to finish the campaign, dude. He's like, well,
Is that a direct quote?
Yeah,
No,
he says that.
Wow, Riddler's got a potty mouth.
Oh
but he
my
just
God.
talks trash the whole time, and I was
Oh my
like,
God.
and it's fun. Like, even after I'd like beat the game and got credits and I won the story, I beat the story and I did it. I've saved Gotham. I did it. He's still just like, one more quest, Batman. I'm like, you're right. I am not gonna do that, dude.
Last one we'll do here. Bloodborne.
I knew this was on there, baby. Good to the last drop.
So
Easy.
Well, hold on. I mean, main story.
Platinum it.
Main story is 34 and a half hours just to get through to the credits.
No sweat.
Main and extras 45 hours.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting all the umbilical cords. Completionist 77 hours.
That seems a little
I
high,
guess,
but
I'd want to know the criteria
Yeah.
for 100%.
Probably doing all the trials. What are they called?
The
you have to do
Chalice Dungeons.
The
Chalice
Chalice
Dungeons.
Dungeons. You have to beat
Oh.
Yarnum down at the end of the Chalice Dungeons.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. It's,
Really, it's not that bad. The
It's
platinum
not
for
that
that
bad.
game is not that bad.
It's not that bad.
It's really not that bad.
So it's
straight
not
up.
77 hours.
NTB.
Well, that's
It's
the
one of
thing
the-
is like I
well-
feel like it didn't take me 77 hours.
I had hundreds in that game, I think. I don't know. But like that's one of the platinums I have. I've got like that and Witness and like
Nice.
you know, I don't go after platinums a lot. So like it ain't that hard to do. I
It's,
feel like
it's
if
so
I've
good.
got it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think as long as you like, I'm on the side where as long as you see like all the endings and stuff, you're good.
Yeah.
But it is
like-
worth playing through everything in that game. Absolutely.
Bloodborne is definitely a game that you don't want to stop playing. Like I
Right.
think it's a game where you're just like, this is I don't want to do this, but I also don't want to stop playing this game, so I'll convince myself that I want to do this.
I'd gotten how many endings are there? 3? 4? I'd gotten
3.
Yeah, I'd gotten 2 of the endings already. Like I'd already gotten all 3 of the endings, I think, and then before looking up how to get the platinum, and I was like, oh, I just have like 3 more things to do.
Oh, I see.
know.
Cool.
Like I just automatically, because I wanted to do it again, you know.
And you're basically getting all the weapons and the
Yeah,
signs
yeah.
anyway. That's cool.
That was one of the games that I started New Game Plus right after I finished it, you know.
One message at the end: may all your future adventures be good to the last drop, but may you have the wisdom to know when just to cut please is all right as well. Godspeed, Myzek. Thank you.
Thank you. That was fun.
It's true. It's good advice.
Let us do one last one. I think this panel is going to have some good answers to this too. Hi, allies. I really love a good end credits music. The feeling that you just finished a game. It also works for movies and a TV show. The screen turning to black and the music starts and you just feel the adventure you just had. So I made a list of songs. My favorite one is Link's Awakening. It's just perfect. It made me feel like I had an epic adventure. The use of Game Boy music is perfect. So good that my 1.5-year-old daughter is so excited when I put it on. So after all this, What is your favorite credits music from games? Stay safe, Eleanor Shambar. Jones, take it away.
I do not say this very often on the Easy Eyes podcast. This is not my favorite. This is the best. Period. Final Fantasy VI is the best composed any piece of music. It literally plays through every single character's theme from the entire game, plays a whole new track you haven't heard of the entire time, drops a little of the Final Fantasy theme in there, and then has this like giant big wrap up. It's basically the thing that you would hear if you went to go see like a concert in a like at the Hollywood Bowl of something. It's like the last thing they would play, like on the Super Nintendo. So what other medleys did they have in the Super Nintendo? Super Metroid ended a medley? Did Super Mario World end in a medley of every theme of every character from the game? On the Super Nintendo, dude? 15-minute ending? PS4 games don't have 15-minute endings. It's nuts. And I don't have to do that. I don't have to say, I really try to be like, oh, yeah, this is my favorite, but anyway, to each his own.
I've done a lot of wrong, though. The best end credits song is definitely Silent Hill 3.
Which is that? What is it?
It's horrible. It's so bad. But I mean, Portal.
Man, it's funny because the opening song of Silent Hill 3 is amazing.
Portal is up there for sure.
Portal
yeah.
Portal's is up there.
Still alive.
Say it.
I wonder if you'll back me up on this, Ben. I hope you do. Metal Gear Solid's ending credits music.
That's what I was going to say. You took my answer.
That's a good pick.
OG, not Twin Snakes. OG, yes.
The best is yet to come is like probably the most emotional I've been during a video game ending, and that song and how it plays ties into what they leave you with and what those characters are saying so beautifully. Like it's amazing. I also want to shout out Half-Life Alyx's ending theme is pretty fire.
Ooh.
That's a tease.
I remember Breath of the Wild. I liked the credits theme. I don't remember what it was, but I remember maybe they put Kaz theme in there or something. Cass, whatever. Does BB's theme play
Kaz,
again?
or some say
I forget it because there's.
Kazum.
I keep forgetting Death Stranding what actually played during the credits.
I was trying to remember.
Yeah,
because
during the
it was
credits,
the-
I'll keep coming.
Oh. Yeah.
They play that one.
I didn't know if it was the Church's song or if it was. Yeah.
That Church's song was not good.
That's what I kind of liked is like, it hit me hard in Death Stranding because you saw so many trailers with that music, and somehow the trailers, you having accepted that and seeing the scene before, and so it's just experiencing it, it's like, whoa! It hit me hard. How's nobody saying Super Mario 64?
Because it's garbage.
I mean,
Kyle.
It's one of my faves, man.
do we need to like tell Jones that he was talking about like his Final Fantasy characters? This was like the Nintendo staple. Like you get a beautiful tour of every level you've been to and stuff. And Super Mario 64 has the added bonus of in each of those scenes, Mario is in each shot, but you can't actually see him by default in every shot. If you have a second controller plugged in, you can control the camera in the ending credits, and you can do a Where's Waldo, find Where's Mario style in some of those levels. So there's a game element to it too.
He's got your beat, Jones.
why I feel like in our current age, video game urban myths cannot exist in the same way. Like now people just data mine it and you know everything before the game's out.
Yeah. I remember when I heard that you could push on the D-pad in the loading screens of Symphony of the Night and make the now loading move around. And as a kid, I was like, whoa!
It's mind-blowing stuff.
I still do it every time I play that game. I just like make it go in a little circle.
I don't think it's the best, but my personal favorite, it's always going to be the ending credits of A Link to the Past. And they've only like used that song one other time, which was in the part of the title screen for Four Swords Adventures.
I'm gonna let you have this one.
There's just some people just don't like it,
allow it.
but I like it. I like it. It's not the best. It's just a personal favorite.
These are all great.
Yeah.
These are all great options.
You know, this is a personal failing, but I feel like a lot of times when I get to the credits, I'm not necessarily paying attention to the credits music because I'm just thinking about like, holy shit, I can't believe I got through that boss fight, or I'm thinking about like some major story revelations, or now, there's always like post-credit teasers. I need to be more attentive to the credits themselves.
But the thing is, Ben, they're like Ubisoft credits are like 12 minutes long. There's not a lot. There's not a ton of care
Some
put
of them
into
are
that.
That's the other thing. That's a good
to
point.
get through.
Is credits are now very, very long. Yes.
But yeah, shout out to the Final Fantasies, like Jones. Like 6's credits is really good. It's excellent. And like 10 for me always because of that song. Like it's just such a sad ending for that game. But like I think all the Final Fantasy games have amazing ending credit music. Some of the best in the biz.
15.
Something I love in games. I can't think of an example right now, and I wish I could. But games where you play the end credits.
Super Smash Brothers. It's a shooting game.
Super Smash Brothers. Yeah.
You shoot the credits, and you get
example.
extra information about each name.
Well, I certainly haven't seen the end credits of that.
I know.
Yeah, various other games.
There is a game. There is a certain game. I won't say it because it's a spoiler, but you definitely do play during a certain part of the credits in the game. To help people figure out what it is. I rage quit at it, but
yes.
But it is a very important part of the game. So
does it start with N?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, it has an N in there.
Does the second word start with an A?
There's an A in there somewhere too. Yeah.
I wonder
NA
if I'm
not
thinking
available.
Of the right
It's Duck Dynasty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, it's time for bets. Clearly. Next week's bet was we're talking about Final Fantasy VII, which releases Friday, April 10th.
40 minutes ago.
If I go to the Q&A section for Final Fantasy VII Remake on GameFAQs.com, at this point next week, how many answered questions will there be? And to give everybody a frame of reference, I went to Resident Evil 3, PlayStation 4 platform. How many Q&A questions were answered? 23. So, panel. Let's start with Jones. Jones always starts, doesn't he? Jones, what's your bet? How
50.
many Q&As questions answered? 50 questions
50.
answered. Okay. Ben.
33.
Michael Damiani.
I slacked this to you, Kyle. Can you please read it?
I said
Because
yes.
you
Actually, I
have to
can.
read
I have it
'cause
on my
no one
laptop.
no one will believe this.
Okay. 33.
Whoa.
Damiani and Ben independently landed on the same number.
I just arbitrarily picked 33, so
Yeah.
that's okay.
Ian.
18.
There it is. And my bet is 41. Let me lock that in.
I have a feeling it's going to be high.
I hope so.
Me too, dude.
My thinking was that Resident Evil 3 is a game that people are trying to like find a lot of secrets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, a lot of people might not be done yet.
Yeah, I am a little nervous to even see it, but Game
think you
FAQs is good about
underestimate-
blacking out spoilers
Well, I think
too.
a lot of people will be done.
I think you underestimate the intensity of the Final Fantasy fandom.
True.
And speaking of Resident Evil 3, that was last week's bet. We bet how many viewers it would have on Twitch. Jones, you bet 20K. Ian bet 16K. Brad bet 5K. Huber bet 33,333, but we had to negate his bet because he did not write it down. And I bet 7,521. I guess I'll have to open Twitch. Let's do this.
I just did. I've got it.
Okay,
Wait, is my bet negated if I didn't write it down on paper?
Did you?
No, he just didn't do it at all until that moment.
Yeah,
so
Ben, even like we were pre-podcast, I'm like, okay, everybody write down your bets. He just did
Yeah.
not.
we saw you write it. He just didn't do it. So
I mean, I just opened Notepad on my computer. And
Right.
That's what Brad did,
He
actually.
was-
That's
he was
perfectly
trying
fine.
to think of it in the moment. And we were like, you can't. You've heard 3 of our bets. You want to know the number?
Oh, yeah.
Resident Evil 3 currently has 18.8K.
Wow.
And
Go ahead.
but we did say that we wanted to combine
Resistance.
Resistance in there.
I don't think it's its own thing.
No, yeah. So
I don't think
what I've
it's
been
its own
seeing
thing.
is Resistance is under Resident Evil 3.
Oh wait, here's a wrinkle. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the original, currently has 134 viewers.
No, okay. It is. It's
That's
not
like
going to affect
Michael.
the winner, but it is interesting to know that.
Yeah.
So who's streaming? Who's the number one streamer streaming
Number
that game
one,
right now?
why is it not in order of? Hang
Go
on,
top
viewers
right.
high to
That's top
low.
right.
There we go. Vine Sauce.
Oh, okay, cool. That's happened before,
7.5K.
actually. Vine Sauce has been
next-
the leading in one of these bets before.
And then the huge drop off down to 1.8K. Bok Boss Soup.
I was watching him last night, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be stoked to have 1.8K
Oh.
views.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if anyone's doing Resistance. Oh yeah, here's someone doing Resistance.
He was the Bach guy was doing Inferno runs, like trying to get Inferno, the hardest difficulty, under an hour.
Wow.
I love watching
Game's been out.
Resident Evil games being speedrun.
Yes, it's
Oh, it's
fascinating.
Yeah.
amazing.
So to recap, Jones's bet was 20, Ian's bet was 16, so that 0.8 brings it up to Jones.
Damn it!
Yeah. That was a very, very close one.
Well, it just went up to 18.9 right now, so...
Yay!
So that brings our scores to Gorgeous Gorillas 8. Sick Owls 6. I would like to tell everyone about patreon.com/easyallies. That would be the website you would go to if you want to learn more about the Easy Allies, how to support the Easy Allies, the kind of videos we make. It's much more beyond this very podcast. People who give us $5 or more per month get this podcast early. They get it on Fridays as opposed to Sundays. And anyone $1 and up gets an ad-free version of this podcast. So, yeah, that's a big drawback. I know it sucks not to have 3 minutes of advertisements, but Patreon makes us. They make us do it. It's like we signed some weird contract. We're like, okay, we'll edit out Jones's ad reads. You got it. And we'll give it to all the people who give us $1 or more.
For the literalists out there, that's not true.
It's not true.
That's not true.
Cool. Jonesy, you got any shout-outs?
I do. Do we want to pick our order first before we...
Yeah, you pick out the order.
Okay.
On your screen, what is the order?
Okay, so Kyle's going to go first. Because you always go first. And
I'm upper left?
You're not upper left. Do you want me to do it that way, I guess?
Yeah.
Because that'll look good. Okay, so Ian's going to go first.
Oh, no.
Then I follow Ian. Mm-hmm. Damiani, you follow me. Kyle, you follow Damiani. Ben, you're last, right behind Kyle, okay? With our shout-outs.
Got it. All right.
Shout out to Blue, Caleb Togi Crawford, L. Thanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, and Jesse Blue.
Shout
out. Damiani, did you wait for the right person?
No, he went off of Ian. You got to go off of me. So Ian and then me and then you.
We're going to get this right.
You're excited,
and then
though,
me,
Damiani.
and then Ben.
You're
and then
hungry,
me, and then
yes.
Ben.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Wait, are you going to...
No,
give me Jesse Blue again. Give me my line.
Jesse Blue.
Shout
out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
It's a little more delayed for sure.
Well, I think that Zoom has a feature of
Zoom's
so
trying to pick who it wants to listen to.
Yeah.
On the recording, it'll sound okay.
We did our best.
Oh, it's gonna sound good.
Jonesy, you won the bet. You get the right and responsibility to share your Twitter handle. Well, listeners, you have no idea how genuinely excited he is right now.
It's
That's
jaunty.
a jig.
Yeah, it's a jig, yeah.
You're going to have to keep doing bets. If there was ever a thought of removing bets from this podcast, I'm not convinced. Okay.
Oh, no, we're keeping that.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
We're torching everything.
They're gonna be better than ever, baby.
I'm just going to burn Rufus. Jones, you get the right and responsibility to share your Twitter handle with the world. You get to promote any Easy Allies video you'd like to promote. You get the final word on anything you've disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped into your head. And you get to sign off with your trademark sign off. Take it away.
Excellent. You can follow me at Trailer Jones. I'm gonna do a double dip, a double Final Fantasy dip. On the Final Fantasy VII side, I'm gonna want you to go check out Brad Ellis's Final Fantasy VII review. Wonderfully edited by the script itself by Daniel Bloodworth, wonderfully written by Brad Ellis. Did such a great job getting music for that, like just really clean cuts on all the music that he grabbed. He gave me just like so many selections, tons of footage. There's so much, for any of you who were nervous about spoilers, even just in the footage that Brad got me, which is just like a slice of the game, there's still so much stuff that I'm like, I'm good. I think I'm good. I don't necessarily even need to get into this area. That was a pleasure to cut. And that review really came together well. On the flip side of that, Final Fantasy VI's ending is the best ending credits music that anyone has ever written, composed, given the technology at the time. And so if you haven't checked that out, I invite, there's many ways you can do that. You can, play that. It's on the PS1 classics on the PSP. You can play that if you want to on the Game Boy Advance, or you can play that. You can get the Super Nintendo Classic. You can go check that out. Or you can break out a Super Nintendo if you still got one. Maybe pick that game up online. Cheers!
It's so weird because mine got shipped to me on Wednesday, so I've been playing it